From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. The Department of Water Affairs recently closed in on some farms in the Vaal Dam area for illegal water use. Megan Waite has the story.
Department of Water Affairs Minister Edna Molewa reports that the illegal use of water and over-abstraction of this scarce resource could have significant economic implications for the country. She tells Engineering News more about the enforcements the DWA has implemented to stop such activities.
It is important to have compliance monitoring and enforcement unit in the water sector, because we do know that it's not everybody in our society who's very conscious of what needs to be done in order for us to conserve water. We still do find many cases where people pollute water deliberately, and some people just do out of sight, out of mind, perhaps as a practice and as a way of life, and therefore they need to be conscientized, and we need to do the enforcement. Regarding the issue of water losses, it's also important for us to ensure that through this compliance monitoring and enforcement, we are able to ensure that this scarce resource is retained for ourselves and for the future of our children and our children's children. Because if we don't and allow water losses, people just to use water illegally as they wish to, it is going to be a big problem, because we will not be able to conserve, and very soon we will run short of water and have what could be called water shortages, and that we don't want. So the importance of this compliance monitoring and enforcement is related to those two issues and can't actually be underestimated. Great importance indeed. We would like to ensure that through the blue scorpions and the green scorpions that we have, we mount our efforts of ensuring that we monitor and enforce that which is illegal, and compliance must happen. And we do it in this manner, that in the area of ensuring that there's compliance in water losses, there's verification exercise and validation of water use, so we can be able to identify the rightful and legal water users and separate them from the illegal and not rightful water users, and therefore go out to those who are using water illegally and issue out the notices, pre-notices first of compliance, and then later the notices of compliance. If they don't respond, we then come in to clamp down, and actually in some stages also, in some instances, close down the water use where they are actually operating illegally. Some people then rise to go take us to court. We do also through that process go to court and argue our cases out. And there's been great success stories in the court processes. There's been one or two cases that we have won already. We are also in court on some of the criminal cases that we have put before court. So this is a very, very important work in terms of validation and ensuring that there is compliance in those who pollute. We are also calling upon communities and working in partnership with our own communities, NGOs. Just in this Vaal catchment area, many people and society as a whole actually stands up and say, hang on, there are people who are polluting the waters. And working with those people, we are trying very hard to catch those who are polluters.
Other news making headlines this week: South Africa may turn to the private sector for help with mine water pollution, and South Africa's industrial energy intensity falls but still lags behind the world average. Water and Environmental Affairs Minister Edna Molewa has revealed that the South African government is considering turning to the private sector to help it close the prevailing funding gap to implement projects to deal with the serious acid mine drainage problem being experienced across the Witwatersrand basins.
On this World Water Day, we once again dedicate ourselves to putting our heads together and finding solutions to the problem of AMD. And that I mean from community level up to the mining level, private sector, everybody and anybody who has a solution. We are opening up, so let's not keep going back to what did not happen in the past few months. Let's focus on what should we do as a collective.
A recently published report by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization shows that the energy intensity of South African industry declined by a material 33% between 1990 and 2008.
South Africa has done very well, as we saw before. We have a 1.2 tons of oil equivalent figure in 1990, which has been reduced to roughly around 0.8 tons of oil equivalent in 2008, a reduction of 33%. Far above the region and very close to the level for all equivalent income countries. But still there's a gap with the global average, which is around 0.3735%, 35 tons of oil equivalent, with South Africa being around 0.8. So it's still energy intensity is double the world average in South Africa. So there's still some work to be done.
That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.